Hey everyone, I'm Cardo. Today we're going to be doing Estonia into the Nordic Empire. This is my favorite formable nation in the game so far that I've played, and I'm going to show you why. This is going to be a guide on how to easily form the Nordic Empire before World War II kicks off and without picking up any allied guarantees on any of the Nordic countries. And obviously we're going to be doing Iron Man with historical AI focuses on. Alright. Now, there's not a whole lot of setup to do because Estonia doesn't really start with much, but we are going to start with Rally the Nation. Research, I just do the usual engineering, machine tools, and construction. I usually like to start building 2 military factories in Harju, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, sorry. And just put all your, you only have 2 mills, put them both on guns. We are going to be in a steel deficit. I don't think it's worth it right now to trade for steel because you also only are having 2 civs to build with, and we're going to be gaining some more civs ourselves and some more steel as well through conquest. All right, now for your units, put them all into one army, just convert them to infantry. You're going to be short on manpower and equipment for quite a while. That's fine. Just give them Mr. Alexander Jackson, not sure. I'm going to stop trying to pronounce things I don't know. Just line them up on the Latvian border. Maybe draw a front line just so they can get a bit of a planning bonus. Latvia is our first target. Also, one thing I like to do, take these 18 fighters you have, just delete them, just disband them. You'll get a little bit of manpower back. It's only like 300, but we need every bit of manpower we can get, and those planes are not going to help us at all right now. And that is it for basic setup. Oh, I do like to also just go ahead and train these guys to level 3. Yeah, they're going to be way short on manpower and equipment, so they'll, as more manpower and equipment trickles into them, they'll lose XP. But if we have them trained up early, that means that when they lose XP later, it'll be easier for them to get back up to level 3. So we'll just go ahead and start. And these first 70 days, we don't really do much. Alright, Rally the Nation is finished. And as you can see, we cannot continue down this path to the March on Tallinn until we have at least 40% fascist support. Currently, we have 26%. So right now, we're going to go over and just do this 35-day focus, rejoin the railways. And once we unpause, for a little bit longer, we're going to get these on-map decisions. They cost 25 political power, and it's going to increase our fascist support by either 10%, 15%, or 20%. In my experience, it is absolutely critical to be able to get your wars on Latvia and Lithuania as early as possible before they are able to really stockpile much equipment. So, what I would recommend doing is you just take one of these. We are at 26% fascist support, so if we get at least 15%, from one of these events, one of these on-map decisions, that will put us above 40%, and after this focus, we can immediately go to the March on Tallinn. It's a 50-50. Yeah, there's a 50% chance you don't get 15 or 20% fascist support, and if that happens, just restart. We're only like 2 focuses in, and it's not worth... you can probably get by just waiting another focus or so, but the only other focuses you can really do are these 70-day focuses, and it just feels like a waste of time to me. Also, it doesn't matter which one of these provinces you choose, they all do the exact same thing, so I'm not going to be super in-depth on what I'm researching. I usually have an order I like to go through it for the first year or so. One thing that is important to remember, I tend to forget it when I'm doing this run. At some point before 1938, we need to get transport ships so we can do naval invasions. That is going to be very important for invading Sweden later. Alright, so as you can see, we got the Chaotic March. That only gives us 10% fascist support, which doesn't put us at 40%, so I'm going to go ahead and just restart and get back to this point real quick. Alright, so on our second attempt here, we've gotten actually the 20% fascist support increase. That's pretty unlikely. That's only a 10%, or sorry, it's only a 15% chance of that happening. As long as you get the 15% increase, you're good. So, once this focus finishes... Now, as you can see, we are able to take the March on Tallinn. Now, this is very important. As you can see, with our current fascist support, there's a 43% chance that the non-aligned supporters start a civil war. However, the higher our fascist support is, the lower that chance will be. So, if we take this focus, it's 35 days. These on-map decisions are 30 days. We can take another one of these, and that will significantly decrease the chance of a civil war. If you really want, you can just also prey on RNG for this and just restart if you get the civil war. I'm going to be a little bit safer and just do one of these. It's only 25 political power, not going to affect us in the long run. Alright, as you can see, we got another March. That's another 15% fascist support. Actually pretty lucky this run. And that puts us up to 60% fascist support, which means there's only a 29% chance of a civil war. So it can still happen. If you do get the civil war, you definitely want to restart. you get a really bad national spirit. Okay, well, there we go. So much for our good RNG this run. We are going to go ahead and restart. All right, so we're back to the same point, and we got the good RNG this time. And we have flipped to Fascist Estonia without a civil war. And as you can see, both of our negative national spirits are gone. Now, what we're going to want to do, we're going to take the veterans government and rush down this left path here all the way to the Brotherhood. Do not reach out to Germany or join the Axis. There's a few reasons for it. The main one, though, is because we are going to form a faction with Finland later, so we don't want to be in the Axis when that happens. And also, you'll be able to join the Axis later if you want anyway. So there's no reason to go this side. This side offers a much better focus, which is the anti-communist militia. This gives us 4 very strong, full-strength, and fully trained units that'll help us in our wars against the other Baltic states, which we'll get war goals on from the Brotherhood here. So we're going to rush down this side. I usually like to go dispersed industry for this run, just because we're going to start making a lot of new equipment, and the production efficiency base helps with that. Something to also mention, stay up to date on your infantry equipment. We are going to want the best advantages we can against Latvia. Lithuania is not going to be an issue. They fall over pretty easily, but Latvia can be tough to crack if you don't know what you're doing, and every little bonus will help with that. Alright, we finished the veterans government, which means we now have a bunch of political power, and we also have access to a really good political advisor, the subservient ultranationalist. He basically is a silent workhorse and is also half as good as a fascist demagogue. So he's going to give us political power gain, fascism support, as well as acceptance of fascist diplomacy. Now, what that means is we're going to start getting invitations to the Axis. As you can see up here, just decline these. It doesn't matter right now. And you do not want to be in the Axis when you go for the Finno-Estonian Supremacy League. Anyway, continue to anti-communist militia. Next, we are going to want to get war economy once we get another 150 political power. And there's a few reasons for that. Basically, once we actually go to war against Latvia, our war support is going to drop below 50%, and we won't be able to go to war economy anymore. So, ironically, you have to get war economy when you're not at war. All right, we've got 150 political power, and I was actually wrong. We do not want to do war economy yet. First, this is much more important. We need to go to extensive conscription. We need every bit of manpower we can get before we fight Latvia. Manpower is going to be an issue for a lot of this run, especially if you choose to continue it and fight the Soviets. You will be struggling with manpower a lot, even after you have cored all of this. So just be aware. Additionally, you can see our units have finished training up to level 3. Keep an eye on them as they start to get manpower into them and guns. Now that we are on extensive conscription and we're mobilizing, they will lose XP and go back down to level 2. You can just keep training them back up to level 3 if you want. I would certainly recommend doing that. Even though you're burning through a few guns doing that, it is almost perfectly timed. I've timed it out that you will be in the green on guns by the time you go to war. So don't worry about that. Also, now that we have some command power, just before I forget, not a bad idea to give your field marshal offensive doctrine. And you can either do organization first or charismatic. It doesn't really matter. I usually prefer organization first, especially if you're attacking. And yeah, as you can see, a few of these guys are getting back down to level 2, but they train back up to level 3 pretty quickly, so. Alright, we've got our anti-communist militia. That gives us these 4 units up here, and these divisions are very strong. They are 24 with infantry. I mean, it's not super strong, but for Estonia early game, these are very good. They are full strength, which means they have all of the manpower and equipment they need, and they are level 3. So these guys are going to be our battering ram that we're going to use against Latvia. Go ahead and add them to your army, but don't just let them trickle onto this front line. What I prefer to do is line them up on this province here. Just control-click to get them on there. And we are just going to battering ram them down to Riga once we go to war. I also like to get these industrial techs a little bit ahead of time. We're in late November, so there's barely even a penalty for getting these. But that will help with our equipment production. Alright, we got another 150 political power. There's a few things you can do here. I personally like to go up to war economy right now. That will help us a lot. You can also, if you want, start getting one of your chief of armies. Just to build some army XP. These guys are really powerful now in By Blood alone, but I prefer to go war economy for now. One thing we will want to get as quickly as possible is our infantry expert here. I know he doesn't give any army XP anymore, but the 10% attack and 15% defense will help us quite a bit against Latvia. Even if we go to war economy now, we will have just enough political power to get him a little after we start our war. And we'll go ahead and join the Anti-Comintern Pact. I mean, we are you know, if you can choose to continue this run, you will be fighting the Soviets. It's inevitable. But one thing to keep an eye on, make sure that when you have about 10 days left on this focus, you stop training your army so that they can build their organization back up before you go to war. I actually noticed before that the ice forms along the coast during the winter. That's pretty cool. All right, we have about 10 days left. We're going to stop training these guys. Almost all of them are up to level 3, and they're almost full strength. I think we are, yeah, almost full. We have 10 days left until our guns are full, and 10 days left until our war goal. So, literally perfectly timed there. And our manpower, I think we're going to be a little short on manpower still. Yeah, but it's not a big deal. The units we're going to be using to attack our full strength. All right. We've completed the Brotherhood. We now have our war goals on the other Baltics. We're now going to take Empower Finnish militants and then National Pride marches in Finland. This is going to help us turn Finland towards our cause. In the meantime, go ahead and declare war on Latvia. Take your anti-Soviet divisions here and just battering ram them towards Riga, like I said. You should be able to win this pretty handily. Latvia is still not fully equipped. They might try to reinforce a bit. Additionally, we now have our 100 political power. We are going to get our infantry expert. That will help us a lot. We have another mill. You can either put this on artillery or support equipment. In my experience, we are going to be short on support equipment later, so I'm actually going to do that for now. Also, it's probably a good time to start trading for steel with Germany. And yeah, Latvia just kind of melts. As you can see, they've reinforced another unit into this tile. Not a big deal. We'll be able to break them. They are kind of cycling units. Oh, wow. Okay, I've not seen that before. Go ahead and if you... Wow, that's unlucky. If this happens, stop attacking. Make sure your good units stay in this tile. As you can see, now they've cycled a unit out of here now, so we'll go ahead and start attacking again with these guys. Yeah, sometimes you'll just get unlucky. Sometimes I'll have runs where they only ever have one unit fighting you, and you can just immediately rush to Riga. And the reason we're rushing for Riga, by the way, there's a couple reasons. One, that's the supply in the region. That's like the only supply hub apart from Daugavpils. And that will cut off supply from this entire side of the army because their capital, once we take Riga, will switch to this province over here, and there will be no supply getting to these units over here, which will make it very easy. So in this situation, if you have trouble breaking through here, you can use all 6 of these units to try to break through if you want. All right, we've got Empower Finnish militants. We're going to go for National Pride marches in Finland. Save any political power you get because we're going to need it for doing these marches in Finland. We've got our improved machine tools. Right now, I would recommend getting radio, but here pretty soon, probably once one of these finishes, you are going to want to start researching transport ships. And as you can see, we are breaking through here. I would recommend halting these units. Oh, whoops. Halting these 2 regular units once you get close to winning. Ah, they're reinforcing it again and again. We should be able to break through. It just takes a while. They're going to keep reinforce meming it. We've actually deorged some of our units now. Man, this is really bad. I've not seen this happen before. I suppose it's good that we are getting all these really bad luck events in this video, just to show this happens sometimes. It's very unlikely that you'll have a perfectly ideal run. All right, now that we've got National Prime marches in Finland, we are going to go for the Glory of War and then the Vapsid Youth. This is going to give us 2% recruitable pop, which will be really, really helpful. Keep an eye up here. Essentially, each one of these on-map decisions will increase fascist support in Finland, but it will also give the fascist control of this state when their civil war breaks out. As long as they have control of Petsamo, Lappi, Pohjanmaa, and Savo when the civil war breaks out, that is plenty, because we are going to be able to join them in their war and help them win. Not send volunteers, but actually join them in their war against non-aligned Finland. So I usually just start up here. These decisions take 20 days. Just keep a close eye on this. Try to do the next one as soon as you possibly can, because that will help us time our focuses more efficiently. Let these guys regain their org. Actually, it's not a bad idea to take these units, move them back up here where they can get some supply. Let them reorg. All right, we got our researches done. I would recommend now you take transports, and you can either do engineer companies or trucks. I think engineers we're going to want sooner. These guys are ready to battering ram down here again. You can go ahead and support them with these units if you want. All right, we finally got that province. These 2 units here, very important. Units are going to come and try to reinforce Riga. You can go ahead and pin them in place here and make sure you can break through, because we really now want to get the supply hub, because we are stretched very far away from our supply hub now, and we are going to be able to break it, it looks like. Very good. All right, nice. This is where they really start to fall apart if you can successfully take this supply hub. They are trying to break in this tile. Go ahead and make sure these units stop attacking. We don't want to waste any manpower or equipment that we don't have to. Hold this tile, and now that we are controlling, we are occupying some land, Very important. Go in here, change your occupation law, local police force, and make sure you use your horse template. Don't worry, we aren't going to need to actually occupy this land for very long. Go ahead and take 2 of these units and march into here. Take another 1 of them and march down this way. Not a bad idea, once again, to pin these units here so that you can successfully cut them completely off. Now, this is very important. Delete this little front line here and delete those front lines. Just take a couple of your weaker units that are not on an order anymore and just assign them down here. Everybody else, yeah, we'll go ahead and assign these guys here. Take your anti-Soviet divisions and put them on their own order down here. These 2 tiles. We can use them to push into this tile. I've also just remembered that I was not paying close enough attention to Finland. This happens a lot, at least with me. It's very hard to manage migrating your units as well as this up here. It's not the end of the world. You don't have to be super efficient with this, but it is a good idea to keep a close eye on it. All right, so we're going to do the march in Lappi. We can go ahead and set up to capitulate them here. They are getting pretty close. The only victory points I believe we still need, we're going to need Daugavpils, Valmiera, and... All right, I'll try it. Lipeja. I'm sorry to any of my Latvian viewers. We can also give our general here, infantry expert, a little more attack, 10% more attack. Go ahead and take one of these units, march him into Daugavpils, use this other one to pin these guys here, and we can just march in there. Perfect. We can just start pushing into Valmiera. We are stretched pretty thin. What I would do, take your main front line here and just put it where it needs to go. Don't have any of your weaker units coming down here. It's unnecessary. All right, we can now get the Vapsid Youth. Actually, go and stop attacking Valmiera. As you can see, they're shuffling a lot of their units down here to reinforce, and they've left these tiles open. That's going to help us a lot. We can take these units and push in here. All right, we've got Valmiera, which means now we can simply walk into Lipeja, and they should capitulate. And there we go. Now, this is a trick you're going to want to use, especially later in this run. If you don't know, if you're in single player mode and you're in a peace deal like this and you didn't pause when the peace deal happened, you can press escape and then escape again, and that way when you come out of the peace deal, the game will be paused instantly. For Latvia, take all their states. We don't want to puppet them. We want to take their states and take, I think they only have like 2 submarines, but we will take their navy because that will help us later. Confirm and exit, and we have annexed them. And now we are going to draw our front line on Lithuania. Don't worry, Lithuania is much, much, much easier than Latvia to defeat. Additionally, make sure you're keeping an eye on Finland up here. I think we were a little bit late here, but it's fine. Now that we have some Army XP as well, go ahead and get our Spirit of the Army, our Professional Officer Corps. I think this is a pretty popular opinion, but I almost always go with that. We're going to go ahead and declare war on Lithuania. A frontline order is more than enough to defeat these guys. Sure, you can micro it if you really want. We're barely even going to lose any equipment doing this because they are just so weak. As you can see, we got quite a big stockpile from Latvia. You can just march your units around theirs. They do not have the units to really fight back against you. Alright, now this might happen occasionally. You might get either draft dodging or strikes. It's very unfortunate. It just sucks. However, our timing is pretty good here because we're able to do another decision in Finland, the March in Savo. We're going to do that first, and then we're going to take the most expensive option here. That should capitulate them. There we go. That was actually more scuffed than I'm used to. Normally, I don't even have to worry about that. Just take all states. They don't have a navy to take, so we're not going to worry about that. And we're going to confirm and exit. Very important now. We go down here and we hit Unify the Baltics. That gives us cores on all of this and a very, in my opinion, kind of gross-looking color. We have another military factory. Actually, we're about to gain quite a few more military factories. We have 8 more mills. Go ahead and start making some artillery, some AA, and some trains. And just put everything else on guns. Oh, we also can make some convoys now. Very important for later. Just go ahead and take your army, bring them up to Tallinn, because we are about to go help the Finns in their civil war. As for research now, kind of just do what you feel is necessary. I'm going to start getting some better artillery. Make sure my infantry equipment stays up to date. Maybe some trucks so we can motorize our supply. Just do whatever you feel is most helpful to you. Now that we have 25 political power, we can do the March in Uusimaa. This will start the Finnish Civil War. Gonna trade for some more steel as well with Germany. I'll go ahead and trade for some aluminum just so we can really make sure we're making support equipment efficiently. Just keep building mills in your high infrastructure provinces. All right, so we have the Vapsid Youth. Now we cannot continue to the Finno-Estonian Supremacy League until the fascists have won in Finland. It's gonna take another 23 days for the Civil War to kick off. And trust me, it'll be a very, very quick civil war. I think it's probably a good idea to just go ahead and take another one of these focuses over here. We don't really have any any 35-day focuses, sadly. That would be ideal. This focus right here, modernize our industry, 70-day focus gives you 4 civilian factories. As a minor nation, this is a really powerful focus. Do this if you are not super efficient with your time. If we had timed things perfectly, we would have just won the Finnish Civil War, and we could then go to the Finno-Estonian Supremacy League. But ultimately, that's not a big deal. I should also mention, it is a very, very small chance, but I have seen it happen a couple times. Finland just flips fascist without any civil war. If that happens, great. But don't count on it. It's very, very rare, especially if you're not taking control of every state that you can. So you have 2 options here. You can either send volunteers, or you can just join them in their war. Just join them in their war. There's really no reason not to, and we can snag some of the Finnish Navy. Note that you will not be able to draw a front line here until you ask for military access, and just draw your front line here. Just march your unit here down to Viipuri, march these guys down to Turku and Helsinki, march this guy down here, just walk around to Tampere. And there we go. Don't bother taking any of their land. You technically can. I would not recommend it. Just take their navy. Just pass once, and now you can take their navy. Oh, actually, keep passing, because this is very important. Sometimes Greater Finland doesn't actually get that much war score. We just want to make sure that they are able to take all of their land back. So just pass a few times and make sure you see their flag over here on all those states. And now we're going to send our units back home. Now, I did realize I kind of just made a little bit of a mistake. We should have been training up 11 more of our regular infantry here. We are going to want a full army for fighting Sweden, but it's fine because we have a little bit extra time since we're 1 focus behind anyway. We've done modernize our industry. We're going to go for the Finno-Estonian Supremacy League. Now, this is very important. You have 2 options here. You can unite our nations, which just annexes Greater Finland. That sounds pretty nice. And you might think that's the better choice because you still get war goals on Norway and Sweden. And yes, that's true, but you don't get one on Denmark. And if you want the achievement Esti is Scandi, I believe you also need Denmark. This side will invite Finland to your faction, and you'll get war goals on Sweden, Denmark, and Norway. Once you have control of all 3 of those, you can do Estonia as Scandinavia, and that will annex all of this land if you have it controlled by puppets, as well as Greater Finland. Even though they're not your puppet, you'll still annex them. We're going to go for the Finno-Estonian Supremacy League. Now that we have 100 political power as well, I would definitely get a chief of army. We are pretty late on this. We got unlucky with the draft dodging. Ideally, you get this much sooner so you could build up some army XP. You can really go for either of these guys. Sadly, we don't have an army offense expert or anything, but these guys are still okay. The division training time will help because, especially if you're going to continue and fight the Soviets, you're going to want to pump out a lot of divisions in 1939 and 1940. However, I think for now I'm going to go with the army morale expert because supply in Sweden and Norway is going to be kind of dog shit. It's also not critical to go to war with Sweden as soon as we get our war goal. I'll explain when we get there. Alright, and Finland accepts. They will always accept. I've never seen them not. We're going to go for seize Swedish assets now. Alright, now that we've got some army XP, what we're going to do is we're going to take our anti-Soviet division template. We're going to remove 3 battalions of infantry. We're going to decrease them to 18 width. We're going to add engineers and support artillery. Oh, we don't have enough XP. Okay, we'll wait a few days here. All right, now they got 35. We can do support artillery, support engineers. We're going to do that, and these guys are about to deploy. Now we're going to add them to this army, and we are going to convert all these units to our anti-Soviet divisions. We are going to be pretty short on support equipment. That's always going to happen, sadly. You can use this template, the old one here. I usually just change them to a different symbol, and, just have them as your port guard later if you'd like. So, now you're going to take 10 of your stronger divisions, your ones that have seen combat. They are going to start losing XP as they, get equipped. That's fine. And just set each one of them on an individual naval invasion order. Now, what I like to do is I like to send 4 units into this tile here, and then I like to send 2 divisions to the tile south of it, 2 to the north, and then 2 more to the tile just north of that, which is right next to Stockholm. They will always have Stockholm pretty well guarded. It's not worth trying to naval invade directly into it. In my experience, they almost never have any units on these tiles. They might have one in the port, and you're going to be able to pretty easily overpower them. The hard part is just going to be getting naval supremacy, but that also should just happen eventually. So we're going to do that, and we're going to put the rest of these guys on a fallback line here. What I've found is that Sweden tends to immediately naval invade you down here. It's pretty easy to clean up, but it is annoying, and they might disrupt some of your construction. So just send these guys down here. They're all near a bunch of ports anyway, so you'll be able to send them in once you make your naval landing. Also make sure you're training these guys back up to level 3. Once we get about 10 days left on our war goal, stop training them. Something else to keep an eye on. Now, this is very important when it comes to these wars. The trick to not picking up any allied guarantees, the United Kingdom and France will only guarantee democratic or non-aligned nations if the person with a war goal on them or who's justifying against them has generated at least 10% world tension, and world tension, the total world tension is above 25%. So we've already met one of those requirements. World tension is at 28%. However, it says we have generated 5.1%. So unless that number goes up to 10%, the UK and France will never guarantee Norway, Sweden, or Denmark. I believe when we declare war on Sweden, that will generate around 3%. There's a couple ways you can go about this. Basically, if you declare war on Sweden and you capitulate them before getting your war goals on Norway and Denmark, they will pick up guarantees. And that's not what we want. So you can either wait until you get war goals on all 3, and you can declare it all 3 at the same time. I would really not recommend that. What I like to do is I like to declare on Sweden as soon as I can, rush in here, get very close to capitulating them, but don't actually capitulate them, because the peace treaty, when you puppet Sweden, or take Sweden, do whatever you want with Sweden, when you capitulate them, that will generate quite a bit of world tension, and that will put us above 10%. But there's a little trick that we can do once we get to that peace deal, as long as we have our war goals on Norway and Denmark, and I will show you when we get there. Go and stop training these guys. Oh, I should also have set up my navy first. I didn't think to do that. Give these guys an admiral, set them to the Upper Baltic and on naval invasion support. Go ahead and pause as soon as you get that war goal. Doesn't matter which one of these you do first, it's just as long as you do them. Go ahead and set your naval invasion order to go. If we can declare war, you know, on basically the same tick we get the war goal, we might be able to immediately get naval supremacy. Let's see. No, we didn't. That's fine. Sweden has their navy out. I found they typically do that because they are trying to naval invade you down here. We've also got 150 political power. There's a few good guys to get here. You can either get the Vapsid Economist, or you can get the Popular Figurehead. Gives you 15% stability, which is very useful because when we're at war, an offensive war, our stability is very low. Personally, I'm not too worried about getting strikes or anything. If we do, it's not the end of the world. I'd rather have the minus 5% consumer goods and a little more fascism support. So yeah, you'll notice we're at 8.1% world tension. We want to be very careful not to generate any more before we declare war on Denmark and Norway. And yep, there's that naval invasion. Like I said, their naval invasion is now going to fail because we've garrisoned those tiles. And they immediately withdraw their navy. I found that pretty much 100% of the time, that's what happens. They will have their navy out to naval invade you here. Once this naval invasion is done, they'll withdraw their navy and you can naval invade. And you will usually be uncontested. Now, this might happen where some of your units might get locked in naval combat. It's fine. It's not the end of the world. Don't worry too much about it. If you are going to continue this run after you have conquered all of this, and you're going to fight the Soviets, now is probably a good time, maybe even a little bit late, to start researching planes. You are going to want planes to fight the Soviets, or otherwise you're just going to get bombed into oblivion. Something else I would recommend doing, if you don't have your Popular Figurehead, or even if you do, this will help regardless. If you go into Spirit of the Army, political loyalty is very, very nice for nations that have low stability like this. Plus 15% party popularity stability modifier. Brings us up to 38% stability. And yeah, as you can see, one of our units got locked in naval combat, but the other ones are all landing completely uncontested. Very nice. We're just going to go ahead and delete all orders for this army. Just put them all here. I'm actually a little surprised. Normally, Germany asks to send me volunteers, but they have not done that this time. Anyway, I'm going to set these guys to just attack down here. Sweden will not have the units to garrison their entire front line. And yeah, as you can see, we're still pretty short on support equipment, but that's not an issue. It's not something we need to worry about. We're barely even doing any actual fighting here. Man, this unit is getting fucked. And if you want, you can kind of micro to make this a little bit easier. We actually lost our heavy cruiser. Well, we've already got our naval invasion off, so it doesn't matter. We are going to go ahead and hold our navy, though, and make sure we can repair the ones that we have. It's actually pretty rare for them to have this port guarded. I'm a little surprised by that. Now, you do want to be careful, like I said, that you do not capitulate Sweden until you have your war goals on Norway and Denmark. If we take all of their southern victory points, like including Stockholm, they'll be very, very close to capitulating, but they won't quite. So you are safe to take all of, you know, southern Sweden, pretty much. Yeah, as you can see, Sweden is at 93% capitulation, but it's just enough that they are not actually capitulating. We're actually getting naval invaded in Sweden, I guess. That's interesting. Right here. All right, just take a few of these units. Send them right here. If you do plan on fighting the Soviets, I recommend using some motorized divisions to push into them, in which case you will want logistics companies, so now is not a bad time to start doing that. And like I said, if you want to fight the Soviets, make sure you have at least one research slot from this point on dedicated to planes. I'm going to personally just start going a little bit ahead of time. This run is almost over for the purposes of forming the Nordic Empire, so... Alright. So we've got that. We cannot continue to this until we have conquered everything we need to conquer. So for now, there's a lot of useful focuses over here in your industrial section. Right now, I would recommend rushing down here to get a 4th research slot and then a 5th research slot. These focuses here, develop natural resources and trade with the neighbors, gives you oil production. Super useful if you're going to have an air force and some motorized divisions, and if you're going to use your navy at all. Those are really, really nice. Go with whatever you feel like is helpful to how you are choosing to play from here on out. Okay, so now we can go ahead and set these guys to go. We can capitulate Sweden now. All right. Now this is very, very important. You want to use that pause trick where you escape and then escape again. So that way we will be paused the second we exit this screen. What I would recommend now is you just puppet Sweden in all of their states and submit your demands. You can either take their navy, or you can try to get... Oh, I guess we can't actually do our resource rights anymore. We clicked out of that tab. Wow. Thank you for that, Paradox. I would have liked to take some resources and some war reparations, but I guess I just can't do that anymore since I was stupid enough to click out of that tab. Well, I guess I'll just take their navy. You can't take all of it, because for some reason, you don't get enough points to do that, even though you're the only person in this war, the only victorious power in this war. So we'll take all except one of their capital ships. Alright, and as you can see, we are now paused. That is very important, because we have now generated 13% world tension. The second we unpause, Denmark and Norway are going to get guarantees. At least one of them will. So, we need to declare war on both of them now. And the reason we want to wait until after we capitulate Sweden to do that is because if we had declared war on Norway and or Denmark while we were still fighting Sweden, when we puppeted Sweden, our new Swedish puppet would be in the war. And that means we would have to garrison both the Danish border and the Norwegian border. However, our puppet is not in this war. That means that Norway can't actually do anything to us. And now... we can just focus on naval invading Denmark. So we are going to worry about Denmark first. They're much easier. Just take 10 divisions. Just like one tile at a time down here. It really doesn't matter. Denmark will fall over so quickly. But you don't want to call your Swedish puppet in for this war and just, push into Copenhagen. One, this is a lot harder to push across than you probably think. Denmark tends to stack the fuck out of Copenhagen. And it's also just completely unnecessary because then you'll have to guard the Norwegian border. And we don't have enough units to do that right now. Don't bother naval invading directly into Copenhagen. You're not going to win that invasion. Alright, we got our 10 naval invasions set up. The rest of these guys can just go on a front line with Copenhagen. They'll be able to funnel in once we take a port. Also get your navy. You got your Swedish navy here. Merge them up with your fleet. We are going to set them on naval invasion support in the Danish belts. And now Germany wants to send us volunteers. Okay. Well, on the off chance Denmark tries to naval invade your homeland, that will help. So thank you, Germany. Oh, you'll also get this right about now, usually. Italy will send you some guns and support equipment. Very, very nice. Thank you, Italy. That is a not insignificant amount of guns for us as well. We just got 2,500 guns. Once your divisions are in position, just go ahead and set your invasions to go. Oh, we also have some political power. I'll go ahead and get our popular figurehead now. A few of these will be contested. It's not a big deal. You'll have enough units that land that you can just support these naval invasions with your other units. Alright, we're going to go ahead and just delete all of our orders for our army. Send them to Copenhagen. Just have them go at it. There goes Denmark. Once again, click on Puppet. We're going to take all of their states and their navy. When we do this, what typically happens, I've seen it happen pretty much every time, Iceland will break away. That's totally fine. Iceland is not relevant to what we're doing at all. So we're going to set up our army on the Norwegian border. Make sure you don't accidentally put any troops on the border with Finland. We're not going to call Finland in. And yep, Iceland takes control of foreign affairs. Yeah, so they have broken away. That's totally fine. Do what you want, Iceland. I don't care. All right, we're going to set these guys to go. And then we're going to right-click on our Swedish puppet and call them into the war. Now, you may be wondering, wait a minute. We don't have enough units to actually guard this front line. Oh, I guess we actually almost do. There's only a couple of tiles up here. But yeah, Norway has a lot less units than we do. So don't worry if there's a couple tiles that are undefended, like up here. They might push into them, but it's very unlikely, and even if they do, it's not going to matter. Oh, also set these guys to just aggressively go. That'll make these southern units actually push in towards Oslo without you having to micro them. If this happens where some of these units are not actually on the order, just go ahead and manually select them and apply them to this order. I don't know why that happens. It's really annoying, actually. Sometimes microing is a little helpful when your units just decide to be stupid. Alright, and there goes Norway. So we didn't actually even need all those southern recruit points. We got all the ones we needed. Once again, make sure you click Puppet. Puppet all of them, and you can take their navy if you really want. You can't actually take all of it because Paradox says good game design. Go and confirm and exit. We can go over here and do Estonia is Scandinavia. At this point in the game, you can pretty much spend your political power on whatever you want. The game is really in your hands from this point onward once we complete this focus. Alright, Estonia is Scandinavia. We have now annexed all of this. However, we don't actually have cores on it yet. So all you have to do in here is go ahead and proclaim Nordic unity. Yeah, that's brought us up to 63 civs, 45 mills, 14 dockyards, over 800,000 manpower free, total of 1.56 million. I think it's pretty safe to say that you can pretty much take this game wherever you want to go. Oh, you also annexed the navies of all of those, all 4 of those countries. So you now have a massive navy of 78 ships. What I would recommend doing now is actually dismantling your faction and joining the Axis. This will do a few things for you. One, when the Soviets start to try to come for you, whether they're justifying or they're trying to just annex you via an event. This will make them unable to declare war on you because Germany will have a non-aggression pact with them. So you'll buy yourself actually quite a long time, probably about a year, to fight the Soviets, or to prepare for fighting the Soviets. Additionally, since you have such a massive navy now, you could actually join Germany in fighting the Allies, and you could pretty easily naval invade the United Kingdom from up here. I've done it a couple times, so yeah, that's pretty much how you do this. The only really RNG factors for this run are in the beginning. You can just reset if it doesn't go your way. Hopefully this has been helpful to you. I actually couldn't really find any useful guides for this achievement in this formidable nation when I was trying to do it, and figuring it out on my own was some of the most fun I've had in this game. Yeah, hopefully this video was helpful to you guys or you enjoyed it, and I will catch you in the next one.